Hello, world, and welcome to Cinema Nostalgica, where we break down nostalgic hidden gems. This breakdown covers Greek tragedy parallels in the 2005 film Oldboy in depth, touching on key theories, moments, and classical references that make the film resonate on such an ancient and tragic level. Few films dig as deeply into the dark recesses of the human soul as Oldboy. This masterpiece, directed by Park Chan-wook, has captivated audiences with its shocking twists, brutal imagery, and unforgettable characters. But beneath its visceral surface, there lies a story structure with deep roots in ancient Greek tragedy. And today we'll explore Oldboy through the lens of Greek mythology, tragic theory, and the timeless themes of fate and revenge. To understand the Greek tragedy connection in Oldboy, we need a quick primer on what makes a story a tragedy in a classical sense. Greek tragedy revolves around a few key elements: a tragic hero, a fatal flaw or Hamartia, and a sequence of events that feel fated or inevitable. The audience often knows more than the hero, creating a tension known as a dramatic irony, and ultimately these stories end in catastrophe, often through a catharsis or an emotional release that leaves both characters and the viewers changed. Oldboy mirrors these elements remarkably closely. It offers a hero, Oh Dae-su, who's trapped in a tragic cycle where personal flaws and external manipulation combine to create his downfall. Let's start with Dae-su as our modern-day tragic hero. In the tradition of Greek tragedies, the hero is often someone of importance or potential, who's brought low by their own fatal flaw. Oh Dae-su isn't a king or nobleman like Greek heroes. Instead, he is an ordinary man representing a modern tragic everyman, which heightens the film's relatability. His flaws, though, are very much in line with those of classic tragic heroes, like arrogance, impulsiveness, and an inability to control his anger. From the beginning, we see Dae-su as brash and quick-tempered, unafraid to throw fists or shout when he's frustrated. These traits foreshadow his tragic arc. It's this lack of restraint, in a way, that makes him a pawn for his eventual tormentor. His journey, which begins in a drunken rage, spirals into something much more horrifying, reflecting the classic tragic trajectory. In Greek tragedy, Hamartia, or the tragic flaw, refers to the hero's key weakness that leads to their undoing. For Dae-su, his flaw isn't just anger, but something even more subtle, a tendency towards ignorance. His obliviousness to the effects of his actions is crucial. Years before the story unfolds, Dae-su spreads a rumor without fully understanding its impact. This rumor sets in motion a chain of events that ultimately leads to his imprisonment and suffering. This act mirrors the Greek concept of hubris, or excessive pride. Dae-su never considers the implications of his actions on others, leading to a ripple effect of pain. His flaw isn't just personal, it becomes the very weapon used against him, which is very much in line with Greek tragedies, where the hero's flaw is often exploited by fate or antagonists. In Greek tragedies, fate plays a massive role, often bringing about the hero's downfall despite their efforts to escape it. The same sense of inescapable fate envelops Oldboy. The antagonist, Liu Wu-jin, acts almost as a deity of vengeance, calculating and orchestrating a fate that feels predestined for Dae-su. Wu Jin's manipulation ensures that Dae-su's journey is inevitable. No matter what he does, he cannot break free from the grip of his past. This parallels the Greek tragic gods who set heroes on paths on which they can't stray. Wu Jin represents this unstoppable force, a personification of a curse Dae-su has unknowingly brought upon himself. If you think back to Greek mythology, one of the most well-known tragedies is the story of Oedipus, a man who unwittingly fulfills a prophecy of killing his father and marrying his mother. Though Oldboy doesn't mirror the story exactly, the themes of family, hidden truths, and horrific realizations are closely aligned. Just as Oedipus discovers his dark secret, Dae-su uncovers this shocking truth about his relationship with his daughter, revealing how deeply he's been manipulated. This realization devastates him, paralleling the emotional impact of Oedipus's final revelation. Greek tragedies rely heavily on the concept of ananauresis, or the hero's sudden realization of the truth. For Oedipus, it's the moment he understands his crimes against his family. For Oh Dae-su, it's his confrontation with Woo Jin, where he finally comprehends the full extent of the plot against him. This recognition is followed by catharsis, a purging of intense emotion. In a traditional Greek tragedy, catharsis often brings emotional cleansing for the audience. But in Oldboy, this release feels twisted. There's no true relief, only a perverse sense of completion as Oh Dae-su grapples with his guilt and shame. The film invites us to confront these feelings, making us, as the audience, part of this unsettling emotional experience. In Greek plays, the chorus provides commentary, reminding the audience of moral lessons and the inevitability of fate. In Oldboy, we don't have a literal chorus, but we do have characters like Medea, and even the mysterious man who first kidnaps Oh Dae-su, or the man who gives him the phone, who act as moral reflections. They remind Oh Dae-su and us of the consequences of actions and the potential for redemption, even if these opportunities are fleeting. Now, we already reviewed the parallels between Oedipus and Oh Dae-su, so let's go over other Greek tragedies which are closely aligned with the Oldboy story, giving us more evidence of this film being a picture of a modern Greek tragedy. Let's jump into the Oresteia by Aeschylus. The Oresteia is a trilogy of plays: Agamemnon, the Libation Bearers, and the Eumenides. The backstory to Agamemnon is that he is in charge of gathering the Greek troops to invade Troy to try to fight for Helen. As they await to leave for Troy, the winds on the sea cannot carry the ships, so they ask for help from a seer who communicates with the gods. The seer reveals that the goddess Artemis is angered by Agamemnon and needs virgin blood as a sacrifice unless she will not set favorable winds for the sails. And specifically, she wants Agamemnon's oldest daughter, Iphigenia. Ultimately, Agamemnon agrees to this and does indeed sacrifice his virgin older daughter. Clytemnestra, Agamemnon's wife, is obviously livid over the crimes that he has committed against their daughter. So she gets with Agamemnon's cousin, and they both plot against him for revenge. And Clytemnestra eventually does get her revenge by killing Agamemnon and his concubine Cassandra as they are bathing in a tub. In this parallel, Woo Jin plays the role of Artemis, demanding a virgin sacrifice by setting up and hypnotizing Oh Dae-su and Medea to engage in sexual relations. Medea is like Iphigenia, where she is a pawn in this ruthless game set up by Woo Jin, and Oh Dae-su does unknowingly take her virginity, like a sacrifice. Like Oh Dae-su, the characters in the Oresteia are caught in cycles of vengeance that seem almost preordained, where revenge leads only to further tragedy. The sins of the past haunt each generation, creating a sense of inescapable doom and moral ambiguity, similar to Dae-su's struggle with vengeance versus redemption. Next, we have the Greek tragedy Medea by Euripides. In this tragedy, we have Medea, who is a woman scorned. Jason, her husband, betrays her by marrying another woman to secure political power. Medea's response is calculated and ruthless. She takes away everything Jason holds dear, even murdering their children to deliver the ultimate blow. Woo Jin in Oldboy operates with a similar ruthless logic. After Oh Dae-su inadvertently spreads a rumor that leads to Woo Jin's sister's death, Woo Jin dedicates his life to crafting an intricate plan of vengeance. Like Medea, Woo Jin's vengeance is not impulsive, but meticulously designed, ensuring that his victim feels the maximum emotional and psychological pain. In Medea, Jason is blind to the consequences of his actions. He rationalizes his betrayal and believes that his decision to marry another woman is a practical step to secure a better future for himself and his children. Jason completely underestimates Medea's capacity for vengeance, seeing her as powerless in the face of his new status. Similarly, Oh Dae-su begins the story completely unaware of the damage he caused in Woo-jin's life. His gossip, while seemingly minor to him, unleashes catastrophic consequences for Woo-jin. Like Jason, Dae-su becomes a pawn in a revenge scheme he never anticipated. Both characters fail to recognize the ripple effects of their actions until it's far too late. Medea in Woo-jin weaponizes others' loved ones. They both understand that true revenge isn't about physical harm, it's about psychological devastation. They target their enemies' loved ones and inflict the deepest possible wounds. At the end of Medea, she achieves her revenge, leaving Jason alive but utterly broken. However, her victory comes at a great cost. She loses her children and becomes a fugitive, cut off from society and doomed to live with the consequences of her actions. Woo-jin's revenge also ends with a hollow victory. He successfully destroys Dae-su's life, but ultimately takes his own, revealing that his obsession with vengeance has left him empty. Both Woo-jin and Medea achieve their goals, but their triumphs are ultimately bittersweet, leaving behind ruin for everyone involved, including themselves. Next we have the Bacchae, again written by Euripides. In the Bacchae we have Dionysus. He is the god of wine and madness. His power comes from the ability to control the minds and hearts of others, bending their will to his desires. Woo-jin, while mortal, holds a similarly godlike position over Dae-su. From the shadows he orchestrates a labyrinth-like game of revenge, controlling every aspect of Dae-su's life for 15 years. Dionysus manipulates Pentheus and the women of Thebes into acts of madness and destruction, showing how easily human minds can be twisted. Woo-jin mirrors this, manipulating Dae-su into unknowingly committing the ultimate taboo and corrupting Midu's innocence to further his revenge. Like Dionysus, Winju's power lies in his ability to pull the strings of human behavior, turning his enemies into pawns in his grand design. In the Bacchae, Pentheus refuses to acknowledge Dionysus' divinity, mocking him and attempting to suppress his cult. His arrogance blinds him to the danger he's in, making him an easy target for Dionysus' revenge. Pentheus' downfall is marked by humiliation and madness, as Dionysus manipulates him into dressing as a woman and spying on the Maenads, leading to his gruesome death at their hands. Dae-su, like Pentheus, is caught in a web of the antagonist's revenge. Initially unaware of the depth of Woo-jin's manipulation, Dae-su fights back with bravado and violence, only to be systematically broken down. Both Pentheus and Dae-su are ultimately reduced to powerless victims, crushed under the weight of the forces they cannot control. Dionysus strips Pentheus of his dignity and identity before delivering the final blow, just as Woo-jin systematically dismantles Dae-su's sense of self. As mentioned, Dionysus put the women of Thebes under a state of madness, and Pentheus' mother was one of them. After she attacked and murdered her son, Dionysus released the state of madness they were under, only for them to be horrified by their actions. This is similar to how Woo-jin hypnotized both Dae-su and Midu to commit atrocious incest acts. Next is the myth of Myrrha and Cinyras. In this myth, Myrrha, who is a princess, is cursed by the goddess Aphrodite to fall in love with her father, King Cinyras. Myrrha, unaware of the curse, still decided to pursue her darkest desires by deceiving her father into sleeping with her over multiple nights by disguising her identity. When Cinyras discovers the truth, he is horrified and attempts to kill her. Myrrha eventually escapes and, after wandering in despair, is transformed into a myrrh tree. Much like Oldboy, this myth involves revenge from an external force, Aphrodite's curse, which drives the characters into morally disturbing territory. The incestuous relationship in Oldboy is orchestrated by Woo-jin as he employs a hypnotist to hypnotize both Dae-su and Midu into falling in love with each other. In both stories, the relationship is pursued under hidden circumstances, with one party unaware of the other's true identity. Dae-su and Myrrha both discover the truth till it's too late, leading to horror and guilt. The myth focuses on the emotional torment and the guilt that Myrrha experiences, much like Dae-su's anguish upon discovering the manipulated relationship with his daughter. The lingering shame and self-punishment reflect the inner turmoil experienced by both characters. So, is Oldboy a Greek tragedy? In many ways, yes. It embodies the classic tragic structure: a flawed hero, a fatal flaw, a sequence of inevitable events, and a horrifying realization. Especially in terms of revenge, fate, hidden truths, and the psychological impact of familial and societal transgressions. Oldboy may be set in modern South Korea, but its themes are timeless, rooted in ancient questions about fate, morality, and the price of vengeance. As the credits roll, we're left contemplating Dae-su's fate. Did the final hypnosis work, and did he forget everything? Or will he be caught in a constant cycle of anguish and despair? And we're also left wondering whether Dae-su's fate was sealed long before he even knew it, just like the heroes of Greek mythology. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it to the end of this video. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, especially if you like videos which discuss nostalgic hidden gems. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.